One of my favorite game genres are RPG games, but most of the time I have a very hard time choosing a class or an archetype to go with for the long run. I'm one of those the grass is always greener type of people, and as soon as I see somebody else who looks cool or does something special that I can't, I want to be just like them. But because I already chose a class to go with, I would have to reroll and start over. And because of that, I have a bunch of half leveled characters in games like World of Warcraft, for example. Class based RPGs feel like a personality commitment up front. You are forced to make a long term decision before you even understand how you want to play the game. So instead of discovering yourself, you're signing a contract. Now, these are just video games we are talking about, so the problem is not very critical because you can start over at any time with a clean slate without any repercussions. And it works the same in real life too. You get locked into a career early on as a kid when you barely understand how the world works around you. Only in real life, this commitment is much, much more critical. You are asked what you want to be when you grow up before you even know who you are yet. You are expected to choose something serious, something stable, something practical, and then stick with it for years. And if later on you realize that maybe it wasn't the right fit, changing direction feels a lot harder than it should. So, how is Skyrim different from most regular class based RPGs? Well, in Skyrim, compared to your quote unquote regular RPG games, you don't choose a class at all. You just create a character and you're good to go. There are only skills in the game for weapons, magic, stealth, and trade skills. In Skyrim, you become your character through action. The game does not ask what class are you at the beginning as much as it asks what do you keep doing through the whole game. If you sneak, you become sneaky. If you use magic, you become a mage. If you pick a sword, you slowly become a warrior. If you decide to do something else, pick up a new trade skill or weapon, you don't have to start over your whole character and leave everything behind. You just pick up a new weapon, a new set of armor, and you're on your way to learning a new skill, becoming a different archetype, a different person. Skyrim's progression is built around skills and perk trees rather than class selection. This is what always felt so appealing to me. You are not locked into the very first version of yourself. You are not punished for being curious. You are not punished for changing your mind after 20 hours. The game actually gives you room to grow into something else naturally. The leveling system rewards experimentation and repetition. You do not need permission to try something new. You just start doing it and the game responds. That makes the whole experience feel more natural, more forgiving, and more personal. Feels less like building a class and more like building a person. But why does that appeal to a generalist or a jack of all trades kind of person? Because the way the game lets you pick and choose skills based on your current interests or situation is appealing. The way our brain works is we don't want to be trapped in one lane forever. We want to learn new things, evolve over time, mix and match skills, and find a new way to look at those skills, give them a unique angle. This is what makes us unique. Skyrim supports that mindset because it does not punish curiosity in the same way many rigid RPG systems do. You can be good with a sword and then slowly get into magic. You can be a stealth archer and then decide to learn alchemy. You can get into enchanting, smithing, lockpicking, speech, or something completely different, and none of it feels like some huge betrayal of your original character. It just feels like growth. And I think that is a very important difference because in many RPGs, changing direction feels like a failure. It feels like you made the wrong choice and now you have to pay for it. In Skyrim, changing direction feels more like exploration. Feels like you are still on the same character, still on the same journey, just from a different angle. In real life, people often feel pressure to quote unquote pick a class, career, personality, social role, life path. Some people don't even have a choice. Their parents pick for them, or they get forced into something because of their situation. But maybe identity is not something you pick. Maybe it is something that you build by repeated action, just like in Skyrim. Maybe who you are is not decided in one big dramatic moment. Maybe it is decided in smaller moments over and over again through the things you keep coming back to, through the skills you practice, through the interests you follow. You can become a hybrid without restarting yourself. And I always like that. In many RPG games, the cost that comes with changing direction is respecking, rerolling, and starting over. This isn't the case here. Everything you learned so far stays. You can only add to the roster of skills you have. You don't have to lose them in the process of changing directions. Learning something new does not erase who you were before, it just expands you. And I think that applies to real life too. A lot of people, me included, are afraid that choosing something new means invalidating everything that came before it. Like if you spend years learning one thing and then suddenly you get interested in something else, it means those years were wasted. But they weren't. They stay with you. They stack, they compound. In professional life, if you choose multiple interests, services rather, those can have a compounded effect. Let's say, for example, you start out as a web developer and then you expand your skills to graphic design. And now you're doing web design as well. Later, you expand those skills even further and become a brand designer. And suddenly you're doing everything for a client as a one-person business powerhouse. There is not confusion, there is not failure to commit, there is skill stacking. And that is what I think Skyrim understands on a deeper level. It understands that becoming something does not always mean excluding everything else. It understands that growth can be messy. It understands that people change. And for a person like me, that feels more honest. Because I never really liked the idea that I have to know exactly what I am from the start. I like the idea that I can discover that by doing, by trying, by picking something up, putting it down, coming back to it later, mixing it with something else, and slowly building a version of myself that makes sense over time. That is why this kind of system feels so good. It doesn't just give you freedom in a gameplay sense, it gives you freedom in an identity sense. In conclusion, maybe the perfect RPG for a person like you and me is the one that lets you stay unfinished, lets you become many things without throwing the old ones away. Maybe the perfect RPG is not the one that makes you choose who you are at the start, but the one that lets you figure out as you go. The one that says your skills define you, not the label you picked at level 1. The one that understands that curiosity is not a weakness. The one that understands that changing direction is not a failure. The one that understands that becoming something new does not mean losing what you already were. And maybe that is why Skyrim appeals so much to generalists, jack of all trades people, and people who are still figuring themselves out. Because it doesn't ask you to have all the answers up front. It simply asks you to begin. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you found value in this one, please don't forget to like the video. It helps out a lot. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.